Good morning to everyone jumping in. It is so wonderful to have you today. We will get started in about 1 minute. Love seeing all of these morning people put their good mornings in the chat. All right, good morning. It is right at 9 o'clock, so we will get started. Thank you all for joining us. We know you are incredibly busy, and so we appreciate you taking your time to join us today. My name is Amanda Patterson, and I work at the Texas Education Agency as a program manager, and am very excited to be joined by the team at Mind Research who make ST Math, and you'll get to hear more from them in just a bit. We are recording this session. The recording and the slides will be available at texashomelearning.org/summer, hopefully by the end of today, if not by tomorrow. Please go ahead and pop any questions you have in the Q&A. You can also use the chat, but it's a little bit easier for everyone to see your question if you use the Q&A. So let's go ahead and put them there. But again, the chat is also a place to put your questions and comments too. So this series of webinars is all around the summer learning framework and designing high quality summer programs for your students. So here at the agency, we have 3 pieces of this that we're working on. First is the statewide webinar series. So we have many webinars happening. I'll show you a list in just a minute around design, academics, operations, everything that we can think of to support you with designing your summer program. Then we have a resource toolkit. So templates, a checklist, things to consider as you plan your summer program. And finally, we have partnered with our Texas Home Learning publishers to create high quality instructional units that you can use this summer. So these webinars are specifically around these summer units. ST Math is a little bit different. It is a supplemental program that goes along with a core math program. But for summer, there's some really interesting, exciting options of how you can use it with your students. And so the team is going to tell you all about today some of the ways that you can use ST Math this summer to really accelerate learning for your kids and make it super fun. We have what we call the COVID Recovery Instructional Materials Support Initiative. We call it CRIMSI because there is no way you could say that mouthful multiple times a day. So for CRIMSI, it is a program from the agency to support you with using some of these incredible materials. So right now we have our spring adoption coaching happening to help districts prepare to use these materials next year. We also have our summer pilot. If you are interested in using the Texas Home Learning materials this summer, this is an amazing opportunity to explore. We will provide you with training, resources, and educator stipends to help you be successful with the products. If you are not interested in summer CRIMSI, all of the products are still open ed, and so you can use anything you'd like with or without CRIMSI. And finally, we are accepting applications for our full year pilot. So if you want some support with using any of the Texas Home Learning materials next year, we are accepting applications for that as well, which is a great opportunity to get some support with these products. So again, if you are interested in summer CRIMSI, educators will get a $1,000 stipend for their time because we're going to ask for some feedback. We're going to ask for you to participate in some sessions. That application is due on Friday. So definitely look at that if you're interested. Again, it is not required. You can use ST Math this summer. You can use any of our other products this summer without CRIMSI. It's just an additional support layer that you can opt into. So here is the giant roadmap of all of our webinars happening this week to help you plan your summer program. You can see a lot of the recordings are already available because we're halfway through the week and we still have a few more products coming up later this week. All of this information is available at texashomelearning.org/summer. So you can access any of the webinars to sign up, view the slides or the recordings as you need. We are today focusing on our Math K-5 supplemental program, which is ST Math. Here is one other tool that you might find really helpful. We have a summer learning work plan tool to basically give you a project plan for how to think through your summer program. We are in this beautiful purple row, thinking about high quality instructional materials. What we put in front of kids matters. And so thinking about what are the best products that you can put in front of your kids this summer to really accelerate their learning. This tool is available at texashomelearning.org/summer, and it is a Google Doc that you can make a copy of and really use as you need. So highly recommend checking that out. I am now going to pass it over to the amazing team at ST Math. They're going to tell you a bit about how ST Math works and then give you some great ways to consider using it with your kids this summer, because ST Math is available to all Texas students free of charge. And so it is a great resource to employ for your kids. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Garrett.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. Let me just start sharing here. And there we go. All right, great. So I see some familiar names on the attendee list. That's really exciting. I see plenty of new ones too, so that's even more exciting. My name is Garrett Gerard, and I'm coming to you here live from Austin, Texas. Super excited to be working with THL and at the number of schools we've already helped bring on board with ST Math so far. You will also be seeing a good amount of my friend Gigi here during the presentation. I am in my 10th year with the Mind Research Institute. Prior to that, I was an elementary teacher with Denver Public Schools. I really love teaching, but I really only love teaching math and science. So it was kind of a dream come true for me to find an organization that had a completely unique math program that was actually built on decades of neuroscience research. So we have an amazing Texas team. You can see all of our smiling faces on this call and even more of us on the website. Later, we'll be joined by our Texas project manager, Sandra, who's going to walk through kind of how you can use ST Math to really supercharge your summer learning. And as a reminder, as Amanda said, just use that Q&A function to put questions in there, and we will get to those throughout the call, and then we'll answer kind of big group questions at the end during the Q&A section too. So let me tell you a little bit about Mind Research first. We are a neuroscience research nonprofit, so we're not a textbook company. We don't teach anything but math. We really focus on how the brain learns math, and we make sure that the programs that we create are aligned to how we are actually hardwired to learn. And now several of you on the call have already met with me or some other members of our team. And so some of this first information may be a little bit familiar, but I want to make sure that everyone who's joined today is caught up on kind of what ST Math is and what our approach is. So this is what drives everything that we do. We didn't set out and say, what's a better way to teach math? We actually set out with the question, how do we learn math? And so everything that we put into ST Math and the way that we reach millions of students across the country is through the ST Math program. So I am going to share an example first of an ST Math puzzle. And again, you could breathe a sigh of relief if you met with me before. I'm not actually going to ask you to do it today. I'm only going to demonstrate some of the neuroscience, because while this appears to be a very simple visual puzzle, there's actually a lot of complex neuroscience just below the surface. So if you haven't seen this particular game before, I want you to just look at the screen for a minute and kind of take in what you see here. And so for me, when I'm looking at this the first time, I notice a little penguin over here, got the feet kind of pointing towards me. There's this green arrow that I don't really seem to be able to click. I see these boxes down below, these arrows that look like I might be able to click on those. So I'm able to deduce, kind of what's going on here, but what's missing? Well, most adults would say directions. And this is by design, because there are no directions in ST Math. We capitalize on the brain's natural inclination to want to solve visual puzzles. And this is what makes part of what makes ST Math intrinsically motivating. So you will never find any time wasters in ST Math. You're not going to be collecting coins or points or shopping in stores or buying hats or dressing up your avatar. Unlike most programs, you're not going to be watching cartoons or playing any non-math games like car racing or shooting aliens. for one thing, these things actually devalue the learning. And most games actually position math as the boring thing you have to do before you get to the fun stuff. But every moment that students spend in ST Math is spent doing real, rigorous mathematical thinking. So also notice that there are no distractors. And everything on the screen exists for a reason. And what's really cool, kind of having been at Mind Research for a long time now, is I know a little bit more about the history. And so in a very early version of ST Math, GG actually existed inside sort of a video game world. And what our researchers found was that actually made students uncomfortable. They felt like GG was out of place. So you'll notice throughout ST Math, GG is actually always outside, hence the grass and the clouds and the sky. Kids actually feel more at ease, and therefore they're able to do more mathematical thinking. So even the selection of the penguin as the character in ST Math is intentional. Kids, even though penguins are incredibly gifted swimmers and really tough creatures overall, they give us a sense of empathy because of the clumsy way they shuffle around. So kids are naturally drawn to help what we kind of view as a helpless animals. They see GG as a creature in need. So again, another part of the intrinsic motivation. All right, back to the puzzle at hand. I can see here that I need to click some of these arrows down below. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose 3, as most students would do as they would approach a video game. They're just going to kind of see how something works, see what happens. And now I can click that green arrow. Ooh. Okay, so I get a little sound. I've learned a little bit here. I've seen how these arrows kind of manipulate GG. And most students will be able to take that information in really quickly and adjust their thinking. So part of the power of ST Math is this visual feedback. And I know that I need to get GG into this upright position over on the side of the screen here. So I'm actually going to adjust again. I'm going to turn GG forward and then up, and then rotate to the right. Try this one again. And nope. All right. Well, I meant to get that one right, but now you see why the game Upright GG actually appears in the challenge curriculum. All right, one more time. Now I'm going to get this visual feedback and get it right, which is embarrassing because I do this puzzle all the time. Anyways, the reason we show this is that it obviously requires great spatial temporal reasoning, which is the ST and ST Math. So it's really clear why you need spatial temporal reasoning for that particular kind of puzzle. But spatial temporal reasoning actually underpins all mathematical thinking from pre-K through calculus. So we know that this kind of crucial visual understanding is really important for building the conceptual understanding kids need to be successful, not just in elementary math, but in algebra. And that's why we constantly activate that spatial temporal reasoning from a very early age. But that is not the only neuroscience at work here. So we're also activating something else called the perception action cycle. And this is a subconscious process in your brain. And the way that it works, and this is super important because it's actually how we learn most of what we know about how we interact with the world around us. So even from the time that we're a baby, and we're learning how to walk, or we're learning how to get the things we want, the perception action cycle is at work. And that's true for when we're learning how to drive a car or play a sport or plan a trip, or just, again, kind of interact with the world around us. And the way that it works is that anytime we take an action, our brain makes a little prediction about how that action is going to play out. And so a visual puzzle is a great way to activate this. A text-based or audio explanation of a mathematical concept is actually a terrible way to activate this process. So when I was playing that game before, my brain made a little prediction about how my action was going to play out, what the outcome was going to be. And so I perceived it, and that information flowed into my hippocampus. And when it matched correctly, when my prediction actually matched that outcome, my hippocampus processed that information. It released a little bit of dopamine. And so I felt good. I got the question right. And my brain said, okay, when you see that kind of problem in the future, do the same thing. It reinforced that schema. But let's rewind and kind of take a look at what happened when I didn't get it right that first time. That same process played out. I made a prediction subconsciously. I took that action. There was an outcome, and I perceived that outcome. And this time, as the information flowed into my hippocampus, it actually released a different chemical. And what that chemical did was it primed my neurons to make a new connection. So my brain actually told itself that it needed to pay attention because learning was happening. And so your brain has this incredible way of kind of making itself pay attention when it's learning something new. And so I actually had to extend my schema or build new schema. So those are three kind of neuroscience principles so far. The perception action cycle, intrinsic motivation, and spatial temporal reasoning. I just want to talk about one more that's really important in ST Math, and that one is the idea of visual to symbolic transition. So if I put this puzzle in front of your teachers and I said, how many legs are here altogether? Most of them, hopefully, would be able to give us the answer 14. But what's really interesting is if I asked them how they solved it, I'd hear a couple different answers. Middle school, high school folks might say, oh, 3 groups of 2, 2 groups of 4, put it together. They'd kind of attack it with that algebra mindset. Most elementary folks like me would say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I skip counted. But what's really interesting is that a lot of pre-K teachers or early childhood educators would say, I just counted. So in introducing this idea in a very visual way, we've actually created this equitable access point where if I can count by ones, I can get the right answer to this puzzle. And so once students demonstrate mastery at this level, because ST Math is mastery-based, it is self-paced, students will be put on a path forward where over time, we're going to start to pull some of the visuals out and replace them with numbers. Over a little more time, we're going to start to label those operations. And by the time we get to the highest level of this game, we're going to see a totally symbolic representation of this particular question. And now what's really incredible about this is that if you put this question in front of your 5th graders tomorrow or a little later in the year, from a historical standpoint, we know based on the star that more than half of them will actually miss this question. And the reason for this is because the way that we teach math and the way that we expect kids to learn it is that when they see something like this, they recall language. They try to remember how someone told them about how to solve this kind of problem. So they're probably searching for that rhyme or that mnemonic device that their teacher told them. In reality, from a mathematical standpoint, this question right here is no different than this question right here. But by introducing this idea totally visually and allowing students to problem solve their way through these levels and kind of build this conceptual understanding over time at their own pace, by the time they get here, they're thinking mathematically rather than recalling what their teacher told them about how to solve a particular kind of problem. And so this isn't just an ST Math thing or a mind research thing that we sort of made up and we think it's really neat. About 50% of your prefrontal cortex is devoted to processing visual information. So we do know that about half of the brain is devoted to all the other senses, but half is devoted to visual processing. So the most efficient way to get new information into the brain is not language or audio or text, it's actually visually. So your brain is literally hardwired to learn visually. And now I'm going to run through some of the ways that ST Math is going to be particularly beneficial during the summer. The first one is that when students get into ST Math, it's super intuitive for them to know what to do. And the reason I say that is because there's this clear path forward and we call it the journey and it's aligned to the grade level TEKS, but they don't need to take some sort of cumbersome assessment or choose what they want to work on. They are on a learning path based on their grade level. And now the teacher can make adjustments to that path if they want to. That's called assignments, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But just know that if your students are seeing ST Math for the first time in the summer, because we capitalize on that video game mindset, they're going to know what to do. So as we saw before, in ST Math, the feedback actually does the teaching. So there's no sit and get. The teachers or the students don't sit there and listen to someone explain the math and then practice. They don't have that verbal explanation. They simply engage with the concepts in a visual way from the moment that they log in. So again, no need to sit and worry about them, are they gonna be willing to sit and watch this video and then do these practice problems? Because it's all a game. The only thing the students are ever seeing are these visual puzzles. Now, when students have hit the point where they kind of cross from productive struggle into frustration, we do have features that are built into the game that will allow teachers to do facilitation to help that learning cycle keep moving forward. And so these tools include the ability to pause and rewind and animation in the game in order to foster that discussion. And just in case that conversation is not actually happening in person, maybe the teacher and the student are in a different place, there's an annotation tool built into ST Math to ensure that whoever is showing their screen can properly communicate mathematical thinking. So whether that's the student saying, here's how I think it's going to work, or it's the teacher showing the puzzle and walking through some strategies that they might employ, whoever has control of the screen at that point is actually able to show their thinking on the screen. We also know that it's really important for students to set their own goals and track progress. And so we give students a number of ways to do that within STMath. Even though summer is super short, we know that that's really important during those couple of weeks also. So students have access to how many minutes, how many puzzles, their puzzle velocity, their syllabus progress, their quiz score growth. There's all kinds of things that kids can track. And we also provide teachers with templates for trackers and journals so that we can ensure that students are kind of setting their own goals and tracking their own progress over the summer to really just encourage reflection and celebration. And so for teachers, if your teachers this summer are brand new to STMath, we've actually made it a lot easier for them to explore the content. So with deep linked games, teachers are actually able to quickly explore how we focus on conceptual learning in different TEKs. And with summer learning, you may be choosing to focus on specific grade levels. So while I mentioned that there is a grade level journey that's aligned to the TEKs for students, teachers can assign any STMath objective to the whole class or a small group or an individual student, even if that objective is off grade level. And so the nice thing about this new feature is that if they assign below grade level TEK, the students won't actually know that they're working below grade level. So you don't have to worry about sort of crushing any confidence there. Even though it is a brief window of instruction, we know that data is important. So we make sure that at their fingertips, teachers can always see the progress and the usage from their dashboard across the whole class and the individual students. And then they can drill down into individual student records to see things like puzzle velocity, syllabus progress, quiz score growth, and even details on the students' daily progress, what they've worked on any given day of the month. If you're a summer school administrator, you'll also have access to all this data as well. It'll just look a little different because you would start with that kind of bird's eye view. We do know that internet reliability can be an issue for some families at home. So the automatic progress saving ensures that students, even if they lose connection to the internet during their session, they won't lose their STMath progress from that time. Also, again, don't worry about assigning content that's off grade level because your students won't know that they're working below grade level. And one nice feature for the teachers in the fall is that in the new STMath with the historical data feature, teachers will actually be able to see what students worked on over the summer, what objectives they completed, and possibly more importantly, what objectives they did not complete over the summer so that they can make more informed instructional decisions going into the new school year. All right, I want to talk about one more feature before we answer a few questions and jump over to Sandra. And that is, I've been talking a lot about how STMath has a really visual approach, how math has this visual understanding. We are not anti-language. We know that when students are engaged with math learning, they do want to talk about it. And we know that it's really important for your teachers to kind of foster that mathematical discussion. I'm not sure what summer learning looks like in your district, but when I taught summer school, it was entirely focused on the ELL population in Denver public schools. So language was a huge component of what we did in the summer, even during math time. So we do have resources that will allow your teachers to foster mathematical discussion in a number of different ways. The first two are really puzzle talks and game cards. And these are designed to give teachers a really clear, structured way to utilize the visual manipulatives in STMath to build academic discourse. So this can be done with students who are struggling. It can also be done with small groups as an intervention. Many of these puzzle talks actually include a corresponding math mat that can be used so that students can actually play along with an STMath game, but with physical manipulatives on a math mat to mirror what's happening inside of STMath. And this tactile experience definitely gives students a way to build deeper understanding. And then we actually have a new feature in the new STMath this year called STMath chats, which your summer educators should find super helpful. And these are whole group lessons that take about 25 minutes, and they are designed to introduce new materials. So we took really tricky concepts like the one being shown on the screen here is fractions on the number line. And we know that the visual models in STMath are a great way to introduce new ideas that are a little more abstract for students. So these combine whole group discussion, individual problem solving time, and small group discussion all together. And these actually function outside of the main STMath platform. So the startup here is super easy. Teachers activate the the lesson with a click of a button, and students join with an invite code, much like they would for a Kahoot. So I am going to double check the questions. I think looks like my team has been handling that, and I'm going to turn it over to Sandra so she can talk about how you can request ST Math access now, so we can kind of get that ball rolling to ensure that rosters are created and teacher accounts are ready for the summer, and then how you can best utilize ST Math to supercharge your summer learning.
Here we go. Lost the mute button. Good morning. I'm Sandra Consilli. I'm the program manager for ST Math. I have been with Mind Research for almost 2 years now, but I'm excited to share with you the summer learning because in my previous role, I was a K-12 math director in Brazosport ISD, where we used ST Math through the summer. And we actually began our pilot in Brazosport with 5 schools in April of 2014. And so we just wanted to get that momentum going. There was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of change in our teachers and how they were instructing in their math content. And so we kept it going through summer, and we assigned it during summer school. And then by fall, everybody in the district was begging for us to put it on every campus. And with limited budget, they were very competitive about trying to get that on their campuses. So happy to say that we were able to budget for everybody at that time, but you're in a fortunate situation that you don't have to worry about the budget for elementary because it's free for everybody, K through 5. So if you're interested in signing up, if you've not already signed up for ST Math for the free access funded through the Texas Home Learning Initiative, be sure that you go to the website, and I had this ready to go to you in the chat. If one of my teammates can do that for me, put the website into the chat for everybody so they can quickly link it. But it's simple. It's www.stmath.com/Texas. When you first get to the website, it'll look just like what you see here on the screen. You'll see that sign up now button, which will take you directly to the form that you need to sign up. We recommend that one person from the district office completes that application for your district to get you started. And then an ST Math rep, Garrett or Lisa or Christina, they're on the call with us today, will follow up with you and get you started. And that implementation process can take 2 to 3 weeks at most. So if you're wanting to start now and get going and really have some new ideas and content to try as we wrap up the school year and then get started for summer, there's still plenty of time to do that. So moving from the sign-up process, you can also find our summer learning module that we've put together for you. So this is part of that free access. There's no purchase necessary with the content that we've put on our Texas landing page. And so you'll see they're kind of in the middle are different tabs that you can navigate to on the website. And so you would click on summer learning, which is going to take you to a page that looks similar to this. And here we have 5 different components that we've included for you. Some key objectives, a correlation to the Eureka Math TEKS edition scope and sequence. We have provided you links to family and teacher guidebooks. So if this is not just summer school content that you're looking for, but summer learning experiences that you can continue at home with families, there's guidance here as well. And then some additional content of just movement with the body and getting outside, making connections, math to other areas, and creating additional resources. We've put those a 5-week series, 6-week series in our module as well. This top right button, this will keep you updated on PL that we have dedicated just to summer learning. Right now, it's advertising for this webinar that you're sitting in right now, but after today, we will update that and we have some dedicated summer PL. So if you have teachers that are coming in that have not taught with ST Math and previously, but are teaching as summer school and will be using ST Math, then we've created a specialized PD just for them to be able to facilitate this effectively. And so watch for those dates to be here on the summer landing page as well. But let's talk a little bit about each of these pieces that we've put in place for you. So the first one is the key objectives for TEKS readiness standards. One of the things that we know in Texas is that the TEKS are situated by readiness standards and supporting standards. Anytime we were preparing for state assessment, we would look at those most tested items in the readiness. Same thing for summer. We wanted to target those readiness standards and ensure that they were ready for the next grade level. So we took those readiness standards. We found the ST Math objectives that align with those state standards and identified them for you here. So if you are doing kindergarten, summer school, and you want to target those readiness skills that they need to take to first grade, then these would be the objectives that we recommend for you to place for kindergarten. Same for the other grades. And so there's two options that you have to do that here. You can do that by assigning them, as Garrett shared with you in his presentation. You can incorporate them through math chats and puzzle talks. We have lists of which ones are available on math chats and puzzle talks. And then there's also the option to snooze objectives. So in their grade level journey, you can turn off the additional objectives, and that way they're focusing on these objectives that are available. And that's even another good resource if it's just learning at home that you want them to do. So you can assign this content and they can continue playing at home if they're not attending a summer school. If you're using the Eureka Math TEKS edition, we've provided a crosswalk per grade level. So when you click on this component on the summer learning page, you'll receive this PDF. This is a linked to every grade level. When you select a grade level, it's going to provide you with a correlation guide that matches the scope and sequence from Eureka Math TEKS edition. So if you're working on module 1 in your summer school setting, then these are the ST Math objectives that we would recommend. And then we also have those puzzle talks that would support that same content. So that you can use either one of these two pieces, depending on what additional resources you're providing. So if you're not using the Eureka Math TEKS edition, then you may focus on the previous correlation that we provided you with just the TEKS readiness standards. Or if you're using the scope and sequence from Eureka Math, then you would have these correlations that you can provide for them. Thinking about curriculum and the content that you're providing, whether it's Eureka Math as your summer curriculum, or if you plan to use ST Math with additional resources that you already have in district, we recommend that you do 30 minutes per week if you're doing pre-K, 60 minutes per week for K1, and 90 minutes per week for second grade and above. And remember that there are pre and post quizzes for each objective starting in grades 2 and above. So that's an additional layer of data to your students for their learning. And ultimately, any time that students are playing and earning puzzles, it's time that the students are spending learning in the program. But here are a few research-based instructional strategies that I used in district. We call them tier 1 priorities. We put them across the district for all grades in math. And there are components within ST Math that support these research-based instructional strategies. So if you're thinking about daily number talks, we would conduct daily number talks every classroom. They're support a deeper understanding of math. They promote number fluency. They promote language, academic discourse. So through those puzzle talks and those math chats that you will have access to, you will be able to have daily number talks and encourage that language and number fluency as well. When you engage students with the vocabulary of the standard, this is not just using that academic language of the vocabulary that's in the standard, but how are they engaging with that? How are they using that vocabulary to expand their learning and dive deeper? And so this is not just, those standards are not just a reference for teachers, but they need to be accessible to the students as well. And so through ST Math, those students are engaging with a deeper understanding of that content, but then they're also discussing it and sharing their strategies and thought processes as they're working through those puzzles with their peers and with their teachers. Whether you call it guided math, workshop model, small group rotation, there's various articles for different other names, but having smaller group rotation, I think we as educators, we can all agree it's better to educate 5 or 6 at a time rather than trying to have one instructional lesson for 22 at the same time. And so those small group rotations would run various models, but they would work in smaller groups at least 2 days a week. You can run that same type of model in summer school easily. I'm going to share with you some additional resources that can be put into independent stations, activity stations, and then the teacher can pull students that is working on content. If you've taught a lesson as a whole group, then in your teacher time, you can pull up an ST Math objective and present that with the content that aligns with ST Math and your resources that you're using. The students are constantly problem solving as they're going through ST Math. And then of course the challenge part of ST Math, I would encourage that that's part of your summer school curriculum as well, to give them that actual boost of challenge and perseverance that they need to get through that. But it's that problem solving that they get to engage with as they're participating in those puzzles. So those are instructional supports and some classroom structures that you can use while using our correlation guides to just the state standards or to Eureka Teaks Math Edition. Some of the other components that we've put in place for you on the ST Math website is taking math learning outside. Summer usually has really nice days, even sometimes they might be hot. It's still beautiful to get outside. But some of these activities can stay inside and use simple things that you have in your classroom to conduct these activities as well. But this is active learning. It leverages those connections between the mind and the body. Again, you get the students outside, but you have some additional station ideas. This is a website or link to our blog when you click on this on our summer learning module. And you're going to, in the blog, be able to dive deeper and find some activities that uses hopscotch and body angles, and you see digit dances here, and other ways that embody a math problem with movement outside. There are downloadable activities for Simon Says, cut out GGs to use with spatial language, and they use simple pieces like sidewalk chalk or index cards or construction paper. So that's why I said you can do them inside, or you can use them in a math station or take it outside. And so once you're there, keep exploring through our blogs. The links are all in the Taking Math Learning Outside, because once you're there, you'll be able to see that there are 6 weeks of activities included in this, this blog post for you. And one other piece that we have for you instruction-wise is the teacher and family guidebooks. Like I said, if this is a summer school learning environment that you're having, there's the teacher guidebooks, but if you're wanting your students to continue at home with their learning experience, then you can share the family guidebooks with your students' families as well. Inside, you'll find resources that support, monitor, and assess your child's learning while they play ST Math. There's guidance on using the puzzles and facilitating those. You'll find a collection of hands-on grade band activities that focus on practicing and exploring deeper math concepts. These activities do not require you to have the digital component of ST Math, but they support the digital component. There's also activities that build number sense through activities, and they're done through hands-on games that are included in these guidebooks. And they're designed to support that number sense building. And again, they also do not require the ST Math digital component. So when we talk about small group rotation and what that format might look like in a classroom, there's activities in here that you can put in a station, while in another station, students may actually be working on their ST Math objectives, and then the connections begin happening between the hands-on station and the ed tech time that they have. This is a great guide also for those teachers who have in the past have not been the teacher of record for ST Math, but maybe teaching summer school and now will be facilitating ST Math in their summer school setting. So there's guidance and resources in here that are wonderful for them that we'll also include in our summer PL, but if they're not able to attend those, this is a great start for those teachers. This summer, We are excited because we're having a rodeo. Did you know that the official state sport of Texas is the rodeo? There's hundreds that happen across the state every year, but we're having our own. It's the Summer ST Math Rodeo, and it will begin June 1st and run through July 31st. There's 3 goals for this challenge. Is we want to increase your students' usage and encourage them to continue using ST Math through the summer. We want to promote that culture that we have within GG, that he's there to support them. GG's there to help them learn. And then we just want to continue the stream of engagement within Texas that we have so that students are not losing that time learning when they're not in that school setting each week. So spend at least 60 minutes per week on ST Math. And when your school reaches 60 minutes average, your administrator can enter to win a box of gifts, swag and gifts from GG. So each week we'll have submissions, we'll have a leaderboard announcement to say who's in the lead with our challenge. And then in August, we'll do a live announcement to say, see who wins that box of love from GG. So this is just, again, to continue that promotion of let's use ST Math through the summer. Don't let that summer learning stop just because they're not in the classroom or in their regular learning environment. All right, the big question, and I've seen it come up already in the Q&A, is how do we roster and how do we keep the students in their classrooms? And so we are able to roster different classes based on what you've submitted to us up to until June 30th. Typically, summer school settings are done by that point. And so as you begin to build your rosters for summer school, your classes, your teachers have their groups, you can submit those through your rostering option that you have. You can reach out to texas@stmath.com. We can support you with your rostering. That email also goes to our support team that we have in Texas, our Ed Success Managers, and we can provide you and point you in the right direction if we can't directly help you. But that is a direct Texas support for you. Send us your rosters. We'll answer your roster questions there as well. And then I talked about that dedicated PL for summer school teachers. So if they've not had the chance to attend PL before summer school, and they want to know what's the best method for engaging with my students and facilitating their usage of ST Math and monitoring through summer, then these are the dates you want to be aware of. We're offering them at 3:30 on each of these 3 days. And then there's also the option to have district summer planning. If you're looking for a district model for your summer school environment, reach out to our ESMs at that email above, texas@stmath.com, and we can discuss with you what that district summer planning and your plan would look like. So one more time, if you've not already signed up, if you have not already started your onboarding process with ST Math, make sure you go to stmath.com/Texas and click on sign up now. Again, we encourage you one district admin to do this. That way we can get the whole district going at the same time. We can have you up and running in 2 to 3 weeks. We offer PD every day to get your teachers ready. We'll offer summer PD throughout May and in early June. And we are looking forward to seeing how learning continues in your schools with ST Math this summer. So I know we've seen some questions come up. I'm going to switch this Q&A slide, but I'm going to check in with my team and see where are we at on questions.
Sandra, one quick question. Will the summer professional learning sessions be recorded?
Yes, we will record one of them, and we'll be able to make sure you get that. You're able to post that. We'll share that with y'all.
Great. And then one more question. If a district isn't using Eureka Math, what would be recommended for their summer program?
So if they want to use just ST Math and not Eureka Math,
or another program.
Okay, then I don't know. I mean, one of personally that I would recommend. We would create things. One thing that was key for us in summer school is that it was something they had not already experienced in their regular classroom. But as far as incorporating ST Math with any other resource, my recommendation would be to follow that key readiness, TEKS readiness guide that we provided. Awesome. Any other questions that didn't get answered or that we need to share out live? Because I see a couple in the Q&A.
So one question that I saw, someone was requesting a bit more information about the snooze feature. Could you explain that a little more?
Right. So the snooze feature is when you log in, you're able to look at the entire journey that the students follow, and you can go in and basically the snooze turns off the objective. It moves it to the end of the journey, bumps everything else to the top. And until they finish those that are active and live, they don't have the opportunity to play those snoozed objectives. Once they finish, the snoozed objectives come back on for those students. So it doesn't just cut off their learning when they only focus on the ones that you've assigned or that you haven't snoozed. Does that help? Pip, did you see the question about admin assignments? Can they do that through super admin accounts?
So yes, in short, we could do that. If we're talking about having it be pushed out to all of your teachers, so your teachers won't have to do that work, we would have to collaborate with our team. It's not something that is built in as a functionality for you to do in the platform yourself, but we can definitely support you with that effort. So you could reach out to one of your ESMs using that email that Sandra mentioned before, or if you're already in communication with your EPM, so like Lisa, Christina, or Garrett, you can reach out to them and they can connect us.
And I see a question about tutorial videos for ST Math. There are some on YouTube. Sometimes it's students who are talking through, which is always exciting to watch. But we also have Facebook groups for home access and for school access where educators jump in all the time and ask for support and questions and guidance. And it's always fun to see the educators asking questions and talking through and seeing their own learning happening with those puzzles as well. So there's different ways to get tutorials and support on these puzzles. We have a support line that is tech support, and they will even talk you through some of your puzzles as well if the educators are struggling on them. Let me find your Facebook group for you. 1 second, I'll post it in for you. I see that question just popped up.
It looks like y'all did a great job hitting all the questions. Sandra is going to look for that Facebook group to pop in the chat for you. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining. We very much appreciate your time out of your busy schedules. Any more questions, absolutely email the ST Math team or email Texas Home Learning at tea.texas.gov, and we will help you get the answers that you need. Thank you for your engagement and your questions this morning. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, ST Math team.